'87 Sports Fans live. Keith Grieve from 87sportsfans.com. Into the second hour of the program. I am once again joined by Jim Sarantias from thefantasygreek.com. Follow him on Twitter. @thefantasygreek is the handle. It's the NFL Hour. Welcome back to the program, Jim.
Hey, Keith. Thanks for having me.
No problem. And if anybody's been listening to the whole program, they're just happy to hear another voice on this show.
Yeah, a 1 hour monologue can't be too much fun. But look, we've got some listeners out there, so give us a call. What's the number again?
585-633-7487. 585-633-7487. We're talking nothing but football for the next hour as we sit and we'll try to watch how bad the Chicago Bears can choke this game away to the New York Jets.
Oh, don't you dare say that.
It's 3rd and 1 for the Jets on the Chicago 35 right now. Oh, and penalty, illegal formation. 3rd and 6 now after the penalty. We'll see what happens. 11:51 left in the fourth quarter. It's 24-16 Bears. Just doesn't bode well.
Hey, I'll tell you what. The Bears, their offense has been looking good. I wish Shea Cutler would throw the ball a little bit more to Alshon Jeffrey, a little bit less to Brandon Marshall, because it gets to become too obvious. And in any case, teams are going to start forcing him to go to Jeffrey because they're going to say, hey, we're not going to let you beat us with Brandon Marshall. And I know you and I off the air, we were talking about Matt Forte. As much as I'd like to see the Bears run the ball more, I think running against the Jets, especially with the way their linebackers fill those gaps, it's just too difficult.
Nope. And Geno Smith converts the 3rd and 5 with an 8-yard pass to J.C. Amaro. So now it's 1st and 10 from the Chicago 32.
Now, what do you think? Do you think Geno Smith is a long-term quarterback in the NFL, or now they go year, maybe, and then he ends up being a backup for somebody?
Well, the third year I think is the most important year to show some kind of improvement. I haven't really seen it so far this year, and again, we're only in week 3 here. But if you watch that first quarter interception that Ryan Mundy returned for a touchdown, that was just atrocious quarterbacking. That cannot happen in the NFL. A screen pass like that. And then he was picked off again later by Kyle Fuller. So it's right now he's thrown 33 times, completed 22, but he's thrown those 2 picks. So he's an up and down quarterback. I thought that with the Bears being so wounded as they are right now, I expected a lot more runs from the Jets, but they haven't really tested them all that much.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Hybert's gotten some good looks, but it hasn't been anything consistent. It hasn't been where they've beaten the Bears down. And I think part of it is because the Bears took that early lead. They were kind of forced to try to hustle back in, which I personally think that's a mistake. We've seen several NFL teams do that over the weekend where they're or let's take a great example. How about Atlanta versus the Buccaneers? They immediately tried throwing the football, and because they couldn't succeed doing that, they kept turning it over and giving it to Matt Ryan just to score another touchdown. I mean, you have to commit to something to slow the other team down and throw them off their rhythm. And I think that's something the Jets could have committed to, but there came a point that, no, we got to throw the football to play catch-up.
And if you watch that, I watched that game again, the first half the following day, because I just couldn't believe how bad it really was. They just kept shooting themselves in the foot, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And last week we were reviewing the picks. All 3 of us picked Atlanta, but I don't think any of us thought it was going to be that much of a crap show.
Oh yeah, it was. No, I don't think anybody did.
It was just.
I don't
bad.
care who you talk to.
Yeah. So, based on the outcome of this game, not counting this game, our picks last week, Jim and I finished 10-5, and Steve is now sitting at 10-5 as well. He did pick the Jets. He went against the grain because he didn't believe. He does not believe in Jay Cutler at all, even though he's a Bears fan.
And you can't blame him for that. I mean,
I can. I blame him for everything. I blame him for the negative karma that he put out in the world. So if Jay Cutler ends up doing something to lose this game, it is indeed Steve's fault, and feel free to blow up the Twitter account and remind him of such. So we were all right about Atlanta. I was the only one that picked the Chargers in Buffalo.
That was a great pick. That was a great win for the Chargers.
Oh yeah, they did enough the week before against Seattle, but going into Buffalo and beating Buffalo at home, say what you want about Buffalo's offense, but that defense is pretty good. And they did it.
And I saw somebody, a Buffalo fan up on LinkedIn, actually berating their defense, and I thought, have you been watching the same football I've been watching? I mean, they have a great defense.
But they lost. They let the other team score. We're not shutting teams out. That's what we got to do, man.
Yeah, no, they have a great team. I mean, if they could just get their offense going and just rolling, and maybe we'll get to see Kyle Orton before we know it. I mean, there needs to come a point where E.J. Manuel actually looks like an NFL quarterback, and that point is definitely at Game 8.
He threw some ugly balls when it counted on Sunday.
And I'm really disappointed in them not getting C.J. Spiller more involved in the offense, but I think they're just having enough problems with their offensive line. He can't handle it. But Freddie Jackson, wow. Yeah. And he's the guy that when he retires and he's referred to in those social columns, they refer to him as ageless.
Fred Jackson on my bench, just for the record.
Nobody's blaming you for that.
Yeah, 17.2 points on my bench. Hey, I picked up. We were all wrong about Houston losing to the Giants. The Giants get off the schneid. I picked up Alfred Blue. What's your take on Mr. Blue? How long is Foster going to be out, do you think?
Well, I think that really depends on Arian Foster. Here's the deal. That team definitely needs Arian Foster. I mean, they didn't give Alfred Blue enough touches to really make a good, solid comparison. But you can tell that their offense doesn't work exactly right without a really, really deep running game. And I'm not sure that Alfred, and I'm not holding this against him, Arian Foster has some pretty big shoes to fill. I'm not yet sold on the fact that he is that guy. But, I mean, if you're looking for somebody to replace Arian Foster and you don't have some of the other running backs that are going to be talked about this week, then, he's as good as any other running back to sort of hopefully carry you for a little while, if he's out again.
I have a trade offer floated out to the owner of Arian Foster. I just picked him up to use as bait. So we'll see what happens with that. So, going back, Jim, you were the only one that picked Baltimore to beat Cleveland.
And they won, didn't they?
Yes, barely. They were dang.
Yeah, but, that's right. This was the field goal.
Yeah, last second field goal.
Yeah. You got to tip your hat to the Browns.
They're playing tough.
Yeah.
They are playing tough. Trick play to Johnny Manziel aside, they are playing tough.
And that wasn't the only time we saw that this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I guest hosted with Bob Sullivan last night, and I brought up that on Andy Dalton's touchdown catch, what the hell was the corner doing on that play? He runs up and he gets in the vicinity, and instead of just laying Dalton out, he just kind of, I touched you, stop running. And they credited Dalton with a broken tackle on that. I'm just like, really? That's being very, very generous.
Hey, he's the quarterback. They should give it to him. But look, I mean, how many times have we seen a quarterback line up at wide receiver and they do nothing? I mean, their thought probably was they're not going to risk him doing anything. But the fact that he didn't even cover him suddenly made who was it? Was it Sanu that threw him the football?
Yeah.
Sanu's just like, money shot. Let me give it to him.
I call him Sanu Say Me. Say you, say me. A little Lionel Richie from the 80s joke, little reference there. No one will get that.
Yeah, I was going to say you're the only one laughing at that one.
Yeah, 585-633-7487, 585-633-7487. If you're listening to this on demand, leave a voicemail, and we'll get into the show next week, 585-633-7487. Steve-O, he picked Green Bay to go to the Super Bowl
this
year. And they lost a game to the Detroit that anytime you lose a division game, it's not something that you want to jump and shout about. But I took Detroit because they were at home, but I didn't think that they were going to be able to hold Green Bay at only 7 points.
Well, I didn't think this would be a low-scoring game, period.
Yeah.
I mean, it was utterly amazing.
It should have been something where it should have been more along the lines of a fantasy blowout. Just points.
But, I think what's happening, and it sort of goes with my theory of why, in general, even really good running backs aren't putting up the kind of fantasy numbers that we're used to. In other words, we've all pretty much agreed there's about a dozen or so running backs that should be the cream of the crop, the 100-yard rushers per week, 1 to 2 touchdowns, throw in another 20 to 30 receiving yards, and maybe the occasional blow-up game where they can run, 200 yards. And I honestly think what's happened is because of the emphasis on the passing game, it's not just quarterbacks throwing to wide receivers, but it's even offensive linemen learning how to be better in pass protection as opposed to run blocking. So teams not